you.
I'm better.
See?
Oh, and this looks better than when I had them all done before.
Oh,
That's just trauma on me. It just messes
Good, how are
me
you?
up big
Look
time.
better though.
See how straight it is?
Yeah, you're not,
Yes,
you're
no.
not cupped.
It's so cute now.
Yeah.
So this one's, I told him, can't you do them both at the same time? But I think he knows it's gonna come back, so if he does them too soon, then I'm having them done.
Twice. Yeah.
Good,
See?
good.
Straight hand.
Good.
Yeah.
I like your hair too.
Well, thank you. It looks real messy because I only have one hand.
Well,
Every morning I'm just gonna get up and go.
Well, that's all right. That's some style now.
You got a good excuse.
I think it looks
What
pretty.
ours is,
think
I
it
don't
looks
know.
nice.
Yeah.
I didn't either, so.
I think it looks cute. I got some quicker getting my apples. Everyone home. I think it must be evergreen because whatever it is, it's gotta be pretty big because it's a lot of limbs and a lot of leaves down. It's
Got that green.
It almost got everyone green.
Remember that green necklace we happened to buy?
Squirrel, the squirrels?
Squirrels will, and I saw the squirrels in it, but they never eat a whole one. They always eat this was on there and they just stuff them on the ground. These are completely gone now, so I.
You
Blue.
don't waste it anyway.
Yeah, I like the squirrel waste.
Yeah.
But
And now I've got
a friend of mine says, well, did you ever think might be a neighbor or something? Because they're all way gone. I said, I would, but I don't think they put that many names around.
Janice, how are you?
Good. Sure, it's a red good. But what I can understand is why it doesn't bother my dog.
You think it's not, yeah, just easier to get to.
I'm not, I better keep all my breath, because once it gets all that, it's going to go, we'll go through it.
See something neat?
Some of them I may not be able to use.
Oops. That is my dry station. We got that, for their 60th wedding anniversary, and I got it back.
Well, that is really, where have you got it at?
We got it at, I got it at.
I mean, where are you parking it? I mean, where are you putting it?
Open the door, it's right there.
But they
Your
don't,
door.
she
Yeah.
thought it would work in her fine, so fine.
Really?
And see, that won't work for mine.
It's a dry
What
sink.
I do.
It's called a dry sink, it's right there, and then the copper, square copper. And it's a pop comes out.
Yeah, did you just get it back just now?
We got it back, and,
Cause you sold that, didn't you?
yeah, we got it back,
Because the steroids are consumed.
yeah. No, but we got it, we had already passed, but one of our trips down there to go and stuff,
Yeah.
and we took the truck down there and brought it back, so.
And it's gold.
And that door is like crocheted, weird, about that big, and
Those are awesome.
the bowl I already
Good thing I brought
had.
a bigger purse.
And this is, I got it from my brother. This is old, this is.
Oh,
See, it's bigger.
that's a step
That's
up.
bigger.
It
is.
Yeah.
It is, and everybody brought me things today, and now it's full, so.
Oh.
It does.
Yeah, this is old, but this is.
Yeah, that one is,
I
a
had a
little bit
very
more.
good friend who saw my
That's
need
one
and
by
brought me some.
And we paid 2/3 anyway.
Oh.
And then his brother said, no, he was okay with it. The one thing I wanted
She didn't
was
bring the
was-
purse.
She brought me these
Other
little
thing was
purse.
Oh.
but
She
at the
brought
same
me the
time,
little
now that's
purse.
like hard to.
And they're
So
perfect.
she went-
They're
We
perfect.
had one of the.
Well,
kind of-
yeah.
I couldn't put my glasses in.
I already have one.
Cause my other purses were too small to put that in, so I always left them out in the car.
Oh.
So now I can wear my sunglasses in, and I can wear my sunglasses out, so.
There you go. I mean, she was really thinking about you.
They got an absolute steal. That thing is $3,000 or $4,000.
At least two.
More than that, because mine is
Oh,
mine
my.
was like
I think mine was about
It's just all fun.
Oh.
as big as hers, yeah, 3,000 or 4,000 for sure. And they're pretty good deal.
Morning.
But they're, I don't know what they're.
How
The
y'all
ones who
doing
have it.
after your first
Yeah.
visit to
Put the
school?
price on it.
They should have.
We've already had the tummy
Put a
bug.
I
lot.
think we.
Yeah, I know.
Knock on wood,
I
but
know, it's like the second day of
I don't know
school.
what, I know.
no, we had it again this week.
When I went there, it was already
Bring
capped
Taylor
off.
home.
She was.
Oh, no.
So I'm hoping that we're done.
Yes.
And it's,
They didn't let everybody.
So the on guard didn't work for him to do the
I
solo
think
day.
it shortens it, but it's not gonna prevent everything. Nobody else is on it, but she's like, a lot of sweet rice, but we didn't get in with this being
Yeah.
skip.
I can bend it a little
We
bit.
didn't get
Anything
into
has to be done with
get
your
tested
hands,
for
don't seem like
Yeah.
a big.
strep or anything.
Well, and of
That's
course,
good.
the right hand makes
Just
things
stuff.
worse.
Lots of stuff, but
Well, are you teaching?
we'll see.
I am.
Yeah, cause the on guard, those, I got those little on
I
guard.
prepared my other
I
lesson.
like the peanuts.
Those
I
are
use
awesome.
those.
Yeah.
The peppermint peanuts, we use those a lot.
Yeah, I got those.
Yeah.
I like those.
And Michelle just told me,
Yeah.
oh, I had that sore, that's right.
Yeah, but I'm actually ready to go back and supervise all that.
I know.
Yeah, cost quite a bit.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
We don't get to see everybody, don't
Yeah,
you?
living estate sale, I should have.
Yeah.
And then maybe the last day, no, it wasn't done.
They did put it down.
Yes.
Weepy, but
I think it went
Oh, you're not
pretty
feeling
bad.
good.
It was very good.
Then it was
Taylor,
so-
she's
so
only
I was-
6, so.
Like that. I prefer slow down. No, I'm for the second day.
She is a weak.
Couldn't have been that big. It had to be like 3 things.
Oh, it was, yeah, it was, yeah, it was, yeah.
But you told me I was just sick. And
Morning. Nice to see everybody here. Morning. I'll probably have some more coming in, struggling in a little bit. Ron's out of town. Last time, we talked about politics in here. The duties and responsibilities of government, the duties and responsibilities that we have as citizens in that, so there's kind of a standalone lesson. Normally when he's teaching out of the little books of the Bible, I'll carry on his lessons for him, but he's got special material, so he asked me if I could do a standalone. And I anticipate that they'll be traveling some more, so what I'd like to do is start a series. It'll probably be 3 lessons here, or maybe less than that, on God's covenant relationship with Israel. And somehow, I think this printed out of sequence. So, go to the last page, covenants, promises made more sure. So, print out a sequence here. A lot of people, when I talk to them, don't understand our covenant relationship with God. And because of that, they take liberties with the Word of God. So, it's important for that we understand that we have a covenant relationship with God. If you would turn to Hebrews, the 9th chapter, and start and take a quick look. The entire book of Hebrews is showing the superiority of Christ to all things in the Mosaic law. And when he concludes there, in verse 11 of Hebrews 9, it says, "For when Christ appeared as the high priest of the good things to come, he entered through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation, and not through the blood of goats and calves, but through his own blood. He entered the holy place once for all." And that phrase is used a lot in Hebrews, once for all, only one time needed. "Having obtained eternal redemption, for the blood of bulls and goats, and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling those who have been defiled, sanctified for the cleansing of the flesh, how much more with the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God, to cleanse your conscience from the dead works to serve the living God. It talks about he is the mediator. Go to verse 16. For where there is a covenant, there must of necessity be the death of the one who made it. For the covenant is valid only over the dead. Now, your scriptures may say when men are dead. That's a Western idea. We're talking about the Eastern concept of covenant here. Literally, it's over the dead. For it is never enforced while the one who made it lives. Therefore, even the first covenant was not inaugurated without blood. For when every commandment has been spoken by Moses to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of the calves and the goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the covenant which God commanded you. And in the same way, he sprinkled both the tabernacle and the vessels of the ministry with blood. And according to the law, one may almost say all things are cleansed with blood, and without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. The covenant relationship required blood. And I'm going to talk to you about covenants and how they work, and we're going to examine different covenants that we have with God. Because every time God makes a covenant, there is blood required. So I want you to bow please. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the night of rest. This is another lovely day in which we come before you. We worship and prayer, sing songs of praises, and celebrate the Lord's Supper. We ask that you bless us in our studies and in our worship today. Let us do things that are pleasing to thee. Let us focus on those things. In the short time that we're together, and render beautiful service unto you. The reason we come together is to give you all praise and honor and glory, and to remember things that Christ has taught us. We ask you to bless us in our study this morning. Let us look deep into the Word. Consider the things that you have spoken through your prophets, the things you have spoken through your apostles, the things that you have spoken through your Son, and let us take those in, make application in our everyday lives, that we may be more profitable servants to you. I ask you to bless us in all of these things. In Christ's name, amen. So there's our introduction. Now what you have here are my teaching notes when I talk about this. I didn't prepare nor lesson plan where you would fill in your own notes, because the reason I do it that way, most of us do it, is that when you fill in your notes, you're not only seeing it up here if I wrote it up there, but you're writing it, and this is a reinforcement technique so that you learn and can retain things. So, but you've gotten our teaching notes and you can go from later. The covenant is a Eastern idea, if you will. It comes from God. When we think of covenants today, we think about rules regarding buying property. Okay, we have covenants that we have to buy if we buy certain property. We can't put our trash can out until Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and it must be taken in by 6 o'clock Monday evening. That's covenant. We can't paint our house pink because the covenants say it has to be earth tones. And we can say, well, they got pink dirt in Hawaii. It says, it doesn't matter. It's not earth tones. There are certain things we cannot do because of these covenants, but those are the type of things where we have a contract between men and we have to abide by it, because if we don't abide by it, there will be a penalty. We sometimes talk about the covenants in our legal system where we draw up wills, and we sometimes call those covenants. A last will and testament, or it might be called a covenant in some states. Here again, it's a Western idea of how I dispose of property. It's not what the Bible talks about when it talks about covenants. Okay. These covenants are legal. There's no shedding of blood required in these agreements. But there was a time when men made agreements like when Jacob and Esau were reconciled, when that happened, they got together and they swore a covenant to each other, and they sacrificed to seal the blood of that covenant, because it was the life of the animal that was sacrificed that was the testator. So as we read in Hebrews, it says that these sacrifices are made over the dead. It requires the death of the testator. The testator in this case is not the human, it is the animal. His blood is what testifies to the sanctity of that covenant. Does that make sense? So, it was an ancient ritual. Now, in the Hebrew term, brith, literally means cutting. And that's a reference to the Old Testament practice of sealing important agreements by the means of a sacrifice. Okay, so it was the cutting. Now, there are Jewish men's organization called B'nai B'rith. Okay. Brethren of the cutting. There, that cutting there refers to their circumcision, because all those Jewish men have been circumcised. And so B'rith means the cutting. B'nai B'rith is the association of men who have been cut. Literally, that's what that literally means. So, gives you an idea how it's used. And they sealed important sacrifices by important agreements by means of a sacrifice. Let's turn over to Genesis 15 and take a quick look. And see, we'll start in the back with Karen today. We'll work her around this way. Karen, why don't you look up Jeremiah 34, 18, and 19. Now, in Genesis 15 here, comments are welcome. Starting at the beginning, it says, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision, saying, do not fear, I am a shield to you. Your reward shall be very great. And Abraham said, "O Lord, what wilt thou give me, since I am childless?" And then he goes on and tells him all the things he's going to do. He said, I brought you up, I'm going to do these things. In verse 8, he says, Abraham says to God, "O Lord, how may I know that I shall possess it?" God told him he was going to do it. But Abraham wanted some reassurance. So God said to him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old female goat and a 3-year-old ram and a turtle dove and a young pigeon." And he brought these to him and cut them in two and laid each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses and drove, and Abraham drove them away. And as the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, lo, terror and great darkness fell upon him. And God said to Abraham, "Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed 400 years. But I will also judge the nations whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with a great many possessions. And as for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace and shall be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation shall return here, and for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete. And it came about when the sun set that it was very dark, and behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a flaming torch, which passed between these pieces. And on that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt as far as the great river, the river of Euphrates, and the Kenite, and the Kenizzite, and the Calamite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, and that's giants, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girosite, and the Jebusite. A covenant was made. Animals were sacrificed. God passed between the animals with the flame of his presence. Okay? So that's where we see it. This is the first time that we have seen a covenant. Now, let's go ahead and read Jeremiah. Just take a look at that too, here for a second.
And I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant, which they had made before me, when they cut the calf in twain and passed between the parts thereof, the princes of Judah and the princes of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priests and all the people of the land, which passed between the parts of the calf.
Okay. Can we see the method? Kill an animal. Pass between it. The blood of the animal is what gave encouragement to Abraham that God would fulfill this covenant. Very important. So, now in these instances, the blood is the witness. The animal is the testator. He is the one that is sacrificed. Okay? And that blood is the witness, and it ratifies or seals the agreement. And so the agreement is inviolate because of the importance of life. These people lived with their animals. They knew that the life was in the blood. They knew that. And they recognized it was precious. And in Genesis 9, let's take a look over at Genesis 9. In Genesis 9, and I think there's like verse 4 there. Get the right place?
Yeah.
Okay. We're looking for the life is in the blood.
That's it.
That's it?
Okay.
Verse 4, yeah.
Okay, go ahead and read it for us. Okay.
Who did you say?
You.
Okay. But you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is its blood.
Okay. So, life is in the blood. Recognize it. Now, was it the covenant with Abraham, was that the first covenant? What's another covenant? No. The covenant of Noah. Okay. So let's take a look back at the covenant of Noah. Okay. And that should be about chapter 6 or so, right? Maybe it's 8.
Chapter 8,
Yeah, chapter 8. And you've got what, verse what?
20.
20 is correct. Okay. Make sure my notes here. So, here we have the instance of the flood. God has destroyed life on the earth. Now, they finally landed on dry land. They come out, and God makes a covenant. Who did he make the covenant with? Does it say there? Okay, then, okay, go ahead. Who's got that? You got that?
You said so many different verses, I
All
got,
right, just
I
come
thought,
on. Okay, let's start in Genesis 9:20 if you got that.
Yeah,
8:20.
8:20, sorry, 8:20.
8:20? And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard.
No, 8 and 20.
Oh, sorry. These are really easy to use once you learn how to use them.
That's why I was sticking with the old
I
book.
know, books.
Tried and true.
Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar.
Okay. And continue reading on down through the end of the chapter.
And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease.
Okay. So God makes a covenant, not just with Noah, but with the earth. With the earth. We will not be destroyed by water again. Okay? So you can mark that off your list. You don't have to worry about that. All right? Because God said he won't do it. Now, in all cases, a sacrifice is made when initiating covenant between God and man, in every case. Even when making a covenant between men, God, or in the case of the pagans, the gods, it was called upon as a witness, as an agreement. So, this custom that we're seeing here wasn't just for the followers of Abraham, but it exists from the patriarchal times. They understood the value of blood. They understood a covenant. And so Abraham understood it. But the pagans, after the flood, even they understood covenants. Because they made covenants between men and would sacrifice animals and call upon the gods to be a witness. So it was not something that was unusual. Now, many times a physical sign or a witness is prepared as a reminder of the covenant. Now, in Genesis 9 through 17. See, Billy, why don't you go ahead and start there? 9 through 17.
I'll pass reading.
Okay, Cheryl?
9 through 17.
9, it was 9 through 17.
9 through 17.
Now behold, I myself do establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that comes out of the ark, even every beast of the earth. And I establish my covenant with you, and all flesh shall never again be cut off by the water of the flood, neither shall there again be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant which I am making between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all successive generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come about, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh. And never again shall the water become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the cloud, then I will look upon it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth.
And so we have the covenant made and a sign. So that today when we look at the rainbow, we can be reminded of God's promise not to destroy the earth by water. So, other things in Genesis 21 and 30, a well is dug, and a covenant is made. Let's start in 21 and starting about 26. Abimelech is having a confrontation with Abraham about water. Abraham complained to Abimelech because of the well of water which the servants of Abimelech had seized. He had dug that well. And Abimelech says, I do not know who has done this thing, neither did you tell me, nor did I hear of it until today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, gave to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. And then Abraham set 7 ewes, lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what do these 7 ewe rams mean, which have set by themselves? And he said, you shall take these 7 ewe rams from my hand in order that they be a witness to me that I have dug this well. Therefore he called this the place of Beersheba. They had the well. But there was a witness there, 7 ewe rams. So I'm giving you 7 ewe rams. It's a witness. You might say, here's the dollar bill. Now you owe me. And in Genesis 31:52 is another example, and there are many others in here. And 31:52, go ahead and read it for us.
This heap is a witness, the pillar is a witness that I shall not pass over this heap to you, and I will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me to do harm.
Okay. A heap and a pillar. Now, it's a witness between Laban and Jacob. A pillar was set, an Ebenezer, if you will, was set. A stone was set. when everybody saw that, they recognized that a covenant had been made between these two. So there are just different signs. Now, there are other things that are reminders, and we can just talk about these, if familiar with this. On the Passover, what was a sign on the Passover that you were a covenant member and that you remembered?
Blood.
Blood.
On the post.
Blood on the lintels and on the doorposts. Okay. That was a sign, that was the reminder, if you will. So there were many times that we see things like this. All right, let's talk about the usages now. In the New Testament, as also in the Septuagint or the Greek version, the Greek word diatheke, is that right? Did you take Greek? Oh, okay. Did anybody take Greek in here? It's all Greek to you? Great. Diatheke. And I am now your expert. Okay. Diatheke is translated either covenant or testament. While the word in the classical Greek sense means a will, as in the last will and testament, covenant was still used in its original meaning by those in the East. So we have the last will and testament being considered in the West. We call that the Greek culture, and the Romans, when they came along, they all had this idea of a will and testament. But in the Eastern nations, the covenant as an agreement between men sealed by God was still in effect. And there the differences are, in a last will and testament, I have to die in order for my last will and testament to go into effect. But in a covenant is agreement between living peoples to administer while they are living. And some promises may come to effect after the living person died. Okay. So are we in a covenant relationship with God? Yes. What are one of the promises of that relationship? Salvation. I shall live with God forever. When will that take place? After I die. Okay. But the testimony, the agreement was sealed while I was alive, and I have certain duties and obligations. But did I have to die for this covenant to be created? No, but somebody did, right? Something had to die in order to have that covenant with God, and we'll talk about that in a future lesson. All right. So the covenant is still used in its ancient meaning in the East, and the essential difference between the terms testament and covenant is this. A will, or last testament, is the expression by the testator, the one who is making the will, of what will be done after his death. Okay, we're familiar with that. However, a covenant is an agreement between living persons or living persons and God as to what will be done by them while living, as ratified by the death of the testator or the sacrifice. The testator, or the sacrifice, testifies to or ratifies or seals the validity of the agreement by his blood. And we can take a look at some scriptures there. 1 Corinthians 11 and 25.
In the same manner, he also took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me."
So now we have the term covenant in my blood. Or it could be, it's just as well translated, covenant by my blood. That's the way it happened. Okay, Phyllis, you want to get Galatians 3? And Janice, you take Hebrews 10 and 29.
Brethren, I speak in terms of human relations, even though it is only a man's covenant, yet when it has been ratified, no one sets it aside or adds conditions to it.
Okay? So once it's a sealed deal, can't be changed. Now, can I change my last will and testament? Until I die.
Yes, you
I
can.
change it, but once I'm dead, I can't change it no more. Although I could leave directives that would affect how it is administered after I die. But in a deal with God, once the deal is made, can it be changed? No, can't change it. Okay, I can't change it, I have no rights then. Okay. So what we have here is, let's read the next one, Hebrews 10 and 29.
How much severer punishment do you think he will deserve who has trampled underfoot the Son of God and has regarded as unclean the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified and has insulted the Spirit of grace?
Okay, we keep coming back to blood, don't we? It was a bloody business. But blood is required for a covenant with God.
Because of the life?
Because of
Because of the life in it?
the life of the
Because
blood.
God gave the life and
Yes.
put it in the blood, so therefore it's required.
Yes. Ancient people understood life in animals and how critical it was, okay? So when they sacrificed an animal, it was a real cost. It was a real cost. Ancient pagans practiced human sacrifice. Now, when they rebuilt Jericho, the king of Jericho sacrificed his oldest son, either under the gates or, and then the youngest sons in another piece, okay?
So it's,
Now, why? Why did he do that?
Very pagan.
Well, yeah, but he did
It was a
for
dedication.
reason. What was he trying to do? Get his God's blessings on Jericho so it would never be destroyed again, because it had been destroyed once. And so, what was the most precious thing that he could sacrifice?
Children.
His children. So he sacrificed his children. Okay.
but there was a curse set on that whenever God destroyed it.
Yes.
He said that with the setting up of
That's
the
right.
oldest son, yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean,
The
that's
curse
what
was set,
happened.
and this guy fulfilled it.
Mhm,
He fulfilled it.
yeah. I
So-
wonder if he knew about the curse.
About it.
You know, I don't know.
Being a
We don't
pagan,
give
I
them
wonder.
much, they knew what was going on, and I'm sure that he probably did. But he thought that by doing this, he could overrule the curse that had been put there. So, we've been to Jericho. There's not much left of that original town, is there? It's just a big mound of dirt, that's about it, okay? And the place is still run by rabble-rousers, as it was then. All right, now. So we should remember that the basis of the New Testament's writers' knowledge, that's the law and the prophets, and the nature of their writings, specifically man's relationship to God and God's will for man, when considering the translation of diatheke. There's almost every case the term covenant will provide a better understanding of the passage's meaning. So when it talks about the testator, when we talk about a covenant, it's really talking about the sacrifice. Not, so Jesus is the testator of the new covenant. It could not go into effect until he died. And the reason is not a matter of law, but because his blood is what would put it into effect. His blood is what would seal the deal, as far as we care. All right, types of covenants. Divided into two basic classes. A unilateral covenant, or one party promises to do something for the other, and he sets the terms and conditions, if any. And the second party is under no obligation to do anything. So, we may have a unilateral covenant where I promise to do certain things, and you have no obligations. I'm going to do them. I'm going to do these for you. I haven't set any conditions on you, on anything on your part. It's all on me. Okay? Normally those are interpreted in court of law in favor of the beneficiary. You said you would do these things, you had no conditions. So if there's a contest there, it would be interpreted in his favor. The other is the bilateral covenant. Two parties have contract or agree, each party to accomplish or finish what has been agreed to in the covenant. Now, in the contract between Abraham, the first covenant there with Abraham, what did Abraham have to do? Well, that was later. In the first instance that we read in chapter 15, were there any conditions laid upon Abraham?
Circumcision.
That was later.
Oh, that was later.
That was a separate covenant. In the first one, there were no conditions. God says, I'm going to give you this land and do these things for you. Abram says, oh, that's an awful lot. Lord, I've done everything you told me to. How am I to know this? So God made a covenant. It made the promise more sure in Abraham's mind. Was it always a sure thing in God's mind? It was an accomplished deal. It was going to happen. Abraham needed some encouragement, so he gave him the covenant. That's a case of a unilateral covenant. Now, other covenants that God made with the successors to Abraham were bilateral covenants. You've got to do something, I'll do something, you do something. If you do this, I'll do this. And those are kind. So let's take a quick look at the prophecies and promises and covenants with Abraham. God's promise to Abraham, God made a twofold promise to Abraham while he was in Haran. Before Genesis 12, 1 through 6. Let's take a quick look there. Whose turn to read? Where are we at? Up here, front. Here.
12, 1 through 6. The Lord had said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all people on earth will be blessed through you. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran.
That's good enough.
Okay.
We'll just stop right there. Now, a promise. Does it say anything about a covenant? No, the covenant came later. But he gave us this promise. He says, if you'll do this, I'll do it. And so Abraham went. Could God give it to him if Abraham didn't go? No, but it was a promise. It was a promise. I'm going to do this. Abraham says, I'm going to collect. So he headed down that way to get his promise. So what we have here is a promise. He's going to make him a great nation. Through him, all the families of the earth shall be blessed, and he'll get the land. Later in Shechem, added a third promise, provision to this, and that's in Genesis 12 and verse 7. So let's take a look at Genesis 12, verse 7. Thank you, Karen. Did you want to read, Jean? Thank you, Karen.
Okay. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord, who appeared unto him.
Okay. And now he built an altar. Apparently there was a sacrifice. And then he proceeded to do what he was supposed to do. Now he's going to give it to the descendants. Okay. They're going to get the land. So, but was anything received of Abraham to receive these things at this time? No conditions are set forth. He went, but no conditions were set forth. Then the next step of this is God makes a covenant with Abram. And later, after Abram's meeting with Melchizedek, God reiterates this nation and land promises to Abram. And Abram believes God and is reckoned to him as righteousness, and that's in Genesis 15, 1 through 7. And you want to read it, Pam?
After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I am childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? Then Abram said, Look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, the one born in my house is my heir. But And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. Then he brought him outside and said, Look now, behold heaven, and count the stars, if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your descendants be. Is that it?
Okay, and where'd you wrap up at?
Verse 5.
Verse 5, yeah. So he recommits the promise, and then in verse 8, which on down, which we've already read, he makes the covenant. That's when he does the reassurance there and makes the covenant with him on those three things: possessing the land, making of him a great nation, just having a lot of children, and then lastly, blessing all nations through him. So we've already talked about how God asked for a reassurance there, and he provided that reassurance. This covenant was bilateral in nature, and once again made to Abraham personally. Faithfulness, believing and trusting was required of Abraham and accounted to him as righteousness. So far we've seen everything. Blood is involved in everything. What was the first covenant?
Adam and Eve in the garden. Adam and Eve in the garden.
The first covenant was marriage.
Oh, okay. That was,
Covenant is, marriage is a covenant, is it not?
it is.
See, people in the world don't think so, but it is a covenant, and it is a covenant that is sealed by blood. Now, how was it sealed by blood? When Isaac married his wife, in the morning they came out and they showed the sheets.
Did what? I'm sorry.
They showed the sheets, the woman's vaginal blood. That is what seals that covenant. So every covenant, even that between a man and a woman in marriage, is supposedly sealed by blood. So isn't that interesting? From the very beginning it's been that way. All right. We're just about done. So what I would like to do is save your sheets for us. The next time that Ron has to go back up to Kansas City and get a chance, I'd like to pick up, and we'll start to a quick review, and we'll start with the Aramaic promises. So we'll talk about the promises to Abraham and what's happened to those promises. Then I'd like to go into the Mosaic covenant. We'll talk about the Mosaic covenant, what it was supposed to accomplish, and then we'll talk about the covenant that we have today with God, and show how it's superior in all cases. This covenant relationship, I hear televangelists and stuff like people like that occasionally talk about this, right? But they really don't understand the concept. Sometimes our own young people, when I hear them praying, they don't understand it. So it's something we need to talk about, and something we need to start teaching, especially our younger folks in the church, because it all comes down to blood. And blood has been the means of redemption in all cases. So from Noah's promise, from the promise to Noah and to the earth not destroyed by flood, God used blood to seal that promise. That's why Jesus had to die. It took perfect blood to cleanse us of sin. An animal couldn't do it. But the perfect blood of Jesus is what could cleanse us of sin. And that's why, and I believe that plan was from the beginning. Man was created by God. If he had not sinned, we'd still be in the garden, right? But I think God realized that when he created man and gave him choice, that eventually he would choose wrong. Wasn't that he had to, but when you gave choice, they had the right. The angels rebelled, did they not? Okay. I kind of think that happened before the garden. So since they were created righteous that way, but even they had freedom of will, and they decided wrong. So God planned for a way to redeem man, his favorite creation. Okay, thank you for your time. Attention. I don't know how to print those out of order.
Blame the computer. Everybody else does.
John Paul was operating computers with the printers, so it's his fault.
See, because I'm blind.
You didn't hear some, you're in here right now, so you
That's
can
even
play.
better.
Easy, yeah, I know. And so you would think just the little,
That's adorable.
you know, just a little finger. I mean, I've had the whole hand done before, and Michelle came down.
Where do you find all your kids?
This time it was only one
these, I can't
finger.
find them
Before
anywhere.
it's been the
They're hard to
whole
find
hand.
anymore because of the
And
season
Michelle
of
came down
this dress,
before,
you know,
and she was
these
there
go
for
out of
2 days
season,
or
so.
something.
I'm just looking everywhere, I cannot find them, and
I
that, the short, I want the short
J.C.
ones.
Penney's, I found a few,
I don't
I
have any
found them
energy.
at Ross, you have to look real hard at Ross. They mix them in with their dresses, find the dress that's like this, and they'll sometimes put a
yeah?
shrug in there.
Oh, yeah?
And I found them at
Well, for something else,
Dillard,
wouldn't have been
or was it Macy?
I found them at Penny's one time, but then,
They
by the time
moved
they
them
didn't
out.
have any that fit
Oh,
me,
it
and then I.
doesn't-
Well, that was my
never-
problem the first time I looked, and then
Yeah,
I tried it
no,
again,
I
and
know.
I found some, and I found, I wanted to. And I-
Whenever I find them, I'll find every color, I'm gonna buy every color I can find.
Well, see, that was what I
Eventually, you'll
did.
find a dress.
That's what I did.
That's a smart thing.
That is adorable.
Thank you. That's the
Beautiful on
smart
you.
thing. That's the smart thing to do
Yeah, it
because.
looks like Chico.
Yeah, this is Chico. This is Chico too, but it's,
Gorgeous.
I just didn't have anything to put with it, so I didn't want black because that's too hot.
See, you did good, because I think
I just
there-
used
it
my-
pulled the blue
And it was-
out of
it was
the,
like
on
a
the,
huge
of the
bandage
dress.
on the
I
whole
like it
hand,
a
so
lot.
that
But I'd like to
She
find
gave
blue
me
like that, but
showers
see, you
and
don't
I
find
mean,
it.
I
everything
haven't found
did.
it either,
Oh,
but then I didn't
wash
really
my
need it,
hair.
'cause
Oh,
I-
yeah.
another
well,
place I
yeah,
found
didn't realize
some.
it was just one-
I found
one
one.
finger.
Well, no, this time was just
Was,
one finger, so I
Boardman's.
guess, I know I was
Even
listening
Chiefs
to
doesn't
this
have them.
finger, but
No.
I guess you just didn't
No.
wanna do it
No.
too soon.
No, I didn't even waste my
Oh.
But so
time
all
there,
my,
'cause
they
I
all do that.
I've
All
never
my
seen 'em
fingers close up eventually.
advertised there or anything,
It's
so I
correct.
figured.
Betty and I went over there.
I wonder if that outlet, of course, that's
Okay.
too far
well,
away.
So when I die,
Betty
I'll
and I
have
went over
clawed
to Chico's
hands probably.
Monday or Tuesday, I found the cutest dress and a little top to put with it, but I haven't had time to iron it yet, so I don't know. Where it is.
That is cute on you. I love it. It is the
It's
color.
not my favorite dress of all that I got at Chico's,
But it's real pretty
Yeah.
on you.
So,
I know,
thank you.
I do the same thing. I just,
I don't kinda like the way, I don't like the way it's made up here, is my problem. It bugs me,
sure is cute.
because I have to wear some, if I have like that, it'd be alright, but I think with the top, the way it's made.
You and I are
but-
so much alike. We're both so self-conscious. I mean, I just feel like
But then where'd you find that dress? Cause that is adorable.
this is that Sam's dress.
You
Remember our Sam's
Yeah,
dress?
yeah. And to find that top to go with that's perfect for
Do
summer.
you know this came from Sam's? That's, he had
They
it.
had them at that time?
They did. They did. You bought a longer one, and I went back and they had black. I might have got a black one there too, because I do have a black one.
I have an orange
got a
one
black
that
and-
I got at Sam's.
Yeah, they
Like
had
that.
bought. These were actually together. See this
Yeah.
cream? Well,
That's
This
why,
is cream.
because I got the orange that goes with the orange in mine.
You did.
That's right, they
You
did have
did.
those. I forgot about
they
that.
have.
I should've got a bunch of.
I don't know. I
they
should have
had
did
the,
better too, but I didn't.
Slitter
And
tops.
then they had still another kind that had the holes in it at Sam's, but I never did buy those. And then later I wished I had
Yeah.
when it was
I don't
too
know,
late.
let's get some cute ones sometimes.
Well, we just have to get a little smarter
Be on there.
on our.
Yeah, I wish
when
whenever
we
they
grab
had
'em.
those tops, I just bought the one
These
that
are my
went,
favorite. They're better than any of my guys because I like mine.
I do too.
Look what happened to me. My little dog scratched me. She almost fell and she grabbed hold of my arm and boy,
Wow.
I just
Yeah.
looked like I'm beat up.
Yeah, if they ever get those in again, I
It'll
got,
be
I got
this
the one to
year.
go with the dress, but I wish I'd have got one of each one of those tops.
Well,
Cause you just never know when you
I
come across
didn't.
something.
I've never been one to buy shrugs anyway. Cause I never
Yeah.
bought, I would never wear this without one.
Oh,
It
me
never
either.
gets sense enough to wear
Me
it.
either, and that's why I say, if they ever have us again, I'm gonna give them every color they got, because I've got lots of dresses on, but yeah, one go with every dress I got.